Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are hope it is good, and welcome back to Geeks Who Like Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, we have returned. Season 2 is officially underway. As always, I am the loudmouth in Los Angeles, Ray Carsillo, the Italian juggernaut, as some have decided to start calling me. And of course, as always, my best friend over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, it's been like 15 months. How are you doing?
My goodness, when you say it like that, it's been a long time. I'm doing great, Ray. You know, it's funny with this show, Ray, is that, as you know, I do a lot of broadcasting daily, right? And I do a lot of podcasting, and I do a lot of things that make me happy. And if all that stuff is my food for the day, my lunch, my dinner, my breakfast, maybe not in that order, this show has always been my dessert. And Ray, I love dessert. And like most people in America, I don't leave room for dessert. I make room for dessert. And it was a pleasure to make room for this show to come back into my life after a little bit of a hiatus, you could say. But the timing was right. We polled the audience. We said, do you want this to come back? We got a resounding, yes, bring it back. And the one no vote we got, and we know who you are. I contacted the person, Ray, because I'm like that. And they said, oh, I hit the wrong button. I said, all is forgiven. All is forgiven. It was unanimous. Seriously, it was unanimous, which I was shocked. I really thought we'd get some, at least like 5%, like, yeah, you guys are losers, get away from here. Yeah. But people want their geekdom, and they want their sports, and they want them together in one place, which is here. I am ecstatic to be doing this again. This is easily, again, I said it's my dessert. I love doing the show. I love doing it with you. I'm excited that our audience is excited, and I cannot wait to get into it.
We are the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup of podcasting. We are chocolate and peanut butter. We get everything. You are everything. We are everything we want. You want, and it's what we want. And we are thrilled to be back after a long hiatus. A hiatus that I admit was longer than I expected. But Lee and you and I, we've been very, very busy. Lee, you won gold medals down in Puerto Rico. I launched a video game. Like we've been super busy. So we appreciate everybody's patience and loyalty and wanting us to come back.
Yeah, it turns out when there's not a global pandemic going on, we can actually get a lot more done. I don't know if any of you listening share that sentiment, but yes. No, in our respective realms, geekdom and the world of sports, we both succeeded. We both pushed forward, and we come back to you now at the turn. Yes. I feel like we're Gandalf the White suddenly. Right at the end of that battle, just have come back, and we're shining light on sports and geekdom. And we've got a great format for the show. Show's going to be a little quicker now. We got some more bonus episodes, a lot more stuff going on social media than we had in the past. A lot of it's just stuff we've learned over the last few years. But we have the equipment. For those of you watching the episode, you'll see that I am in a brand new studio, a brand new set that we've created over that 15-month period. Still wearing the same kind of hat because I'm bald, but when you're listening, you can't tell. So that's good.
Yes, I still have my hair, although I definitely look like I've probably been eating all those desserts that Lee mentioned over the past 15 months.
Gotta love the Reese's.
But, yes, absolutely. But yes, we are back, and we really appreciate everybody for sticking this out with us, and for who are returning now to join us as we get ready to get into the show. We've got a lot to talk about this week, starting off with the NFL. A lot going on in the football season. Lee mentioned there's going to be a little bit of format change. Things are going to be a little bit quicker. We're not going to break down every game, but we're going to talk about probably the biggest stories going on in football. And there's going to be developing stories that will follow throughout. And the first one that I want to get into is Lee, the Bears look like they're historically bad. They blew a 3-touchdown lead this week against the Denver Broncos, who also looked like they were on the verge of being historically bad after losing by 50 points. Only the third time a team had given up 70 in NFL history against the Dolphins. But Russell Wilson finally cooked a little bit in Chicago, got himself some Portillo's hot dogs or something, I guess, and found some deep dish pizza, which is not pizza, it's a casserole, and found a way for Denver to work the comeback against Chicago. And Lee, it looks like the head coach doesn't know what he's doing. It looks like the quarterback is absolutely lost. The general manager is clueless. Their offensive coordinator, I think it was, or defense coordinator, quit under mysterious circumstances.
Alan Williams resigned before the season started. And it looks like it was an HR issue, but no one really knows. But that happened in September, which is the worst time for it to happen.
Yeah, it happened like right after or right before week 1. And it just, Lee, what is up with the Bears in Chicago?
Look, I think the writing has been on the wall, but people are starting to notice it now. You know, it's funny because they had a really interesting offseason. It was one of those kind of high risk, off seasons where they made a lot of aggressive moves that on paper looked like it was going to help the roster out a bit. But then you start to look at the team again. You cannot lose a coordinator that early in the season, not have bad things happen. And then when you listen to the language being used in press conferences, and Fields said openly at a press conference, this is a big problem. He said, the coaches are making us play like robots. I mean, that's dissension in public. Claypool comes out and basically said coaches are the problem. Right now, they got him so far away from the team that he's going to be traded, obviously. Right. They don't want him in the locker room. I got other things written down here, right? Like the polls, the GM comes out and says no one is panicking. And it's like, you better be panicking, right? If you're 0-4 and you look, I mean, and that's not the loss streak. I mean, they haven't won a game in a long. They
haven't won
time.
a game. We're approaching the 1-year anniversary. They haven't won a game since last October.
Well, look, this is what I'm saying. Culture is a huge piece of any team. This is a team that talent-wise was going to be a bottom half team. But the reason they're losing is not because of their talent. The reason they're losing is because the Bears the Bears are not who we thought they were, right? They have absolutely no team culture there. And when you have players openly dissenting against coaches, right? And coaches kind of acting like this is no big deal. I'm sorry, Chicago, you're in for a really long, horrible season. There is no chance that team is going to turn around this year until they get some of this back office stuff together. You just cannot win, Ray, if you're not willing to put some time into that team culture. And it's pretty clear that has been disrupted. Now, with that said, the only silver lining is I'm pretty sure they have control over Carolina's first round pick next year.
Yes.
And their own first round pick. So
the Bears could have the first two picks in the draft because Carolina is also, although Carolina has more hope with obviously with Bryce Young and whatnot, we'll get into that a bit. But Carolina is also 0-4, and although more hope than the Bears, it looks like the Bears are going to have 2 top 5 picks.
I was just going to say it's highly likely they will have 2 top 5 picks. All right. So the way I look at this is this: if I'm the owner, I understand it, but I don't like that polls is saying, hey, we're not panicking. I think transparency is needed here. We're in a bad spot, and I'm going to try and work to make it better because he's going to be looking for a new job after the season. So we might as well put it on the table that he's doing the best he can. But at this point, you have to clean house. You needed a completely new coaching staff for your new roster next year. Keep the core pieces to the puzzle. I don't know if Fields is going to be that guy. To be fair, he's just had a very bad start to the season. He did look a little alive in the last game. Yes. But they collapsed.
His first career 300-yard passing game. But I'll say this: Fields, and again, it's not all been his fault because again, there is an issue with the system and there's been an issue with the pieces around him. But he is now, I believe, 5-23 in his career as a starter. Yeah. And the question is, you mentioned Chase Claypool. They labeled him as toxic in the locker room.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They won't let him near the locker room. From what I'm reading, like he's not allowed near the team right now.
Right.
What do you think that creates in the locker room?
No, it completes terrible dissension. It's absolutely poisonous. But to your point, do you try to trade maybe Fields and Claypool and other pieces and just acquire and have like 15 draft picks next year, clean house, new general manager, new coach, new everything, and literally almost like an expansion franchise at that point, start from scratch, right? You're going to have the top pick in the draft. You're going to get the guy out of USC, the quarterback probably, right? Then you build around, you get defensive players, you can get running backs, you can get whatever else you need. What are you going to do with Fields now? Is he the guy? Because to me, he might still have a salvageable NFL career, but it's not going to be in Chicago.
Yeah, it's tough because there's a lot of factors that play in a professional sports. Like you need to keep fans interested in the team. That's your lifeblood, is making sure that they show up and pay for tickets, right? Now, luckily, the Chicago Bears are a pretty well-established franchise, so I don't think they're going to be losing any fans anytime soon. But, when I look around at, I like to look at precedents and what other teams have done. I think this is a situation, Ray, where for Fields, it's not so much about keeping him and making him great, unless he really is there saying, I want to be a Bear and I want to turn this franchise around. If he's saying that, you might want to bank on that. Right? I doubt that he's saying that. So I think it's more about, look, let's put that kid in a place where he can actually do something, right? Let's give him a chance. Put him in a better team that needs him. That's how trading is supposed to work. You'll get some pieces back. You might get some draft back. I'm reminded of all those teams, Ray, and a few of them come to mind, that would send letters out to their fan base mid-season saying, listen, we're about to go through a pretty aggressive rebuild and it's going to be tough. but we're changing the culture. The Bears are a cesspool right now when it comes to culture. So to your point, yes, they need to clean house, keep the pieces that make sense, that want to be there, that maybe understand the value of being a Chicago Bear, right? Again, I made a post about this the other day about the value of a franchise. You can't just hope someone's going to wear a Yankee symbol or a Dodgers symbol or a Bears symbol or a Green Bay Packers symbol and just think, oh, I'm a Packer, I'm going to be great. It's got to be more than that. There's a culture here, right? So I think that the Bears need to seriously rethink building that culture. I think they do need to bring in a lot of new people and make their fan base understand, look, we're going to have another losing season, but you're going to be able to watch it because we're going to be trying. Okay. And we're not going to go 0-18. All right. But we're not going to make playoffs, but we're going to darn well try to become a better football team with our new coach, with our probably new quarterback, and with these new rookies. Yeah. So to answer your question, they really need to do this. They have the opportunity because of the draft, right? I don't remember the last time a team had a draft that lucrative, right, for themselves in a situation like this. So now I do know that the Eagles like to do this, but they're a great team. So that's because they have a great GM. I'm not trying to segue out, but look, to be fair, I am going to use them as a quick example. It's not just because I'm from Philadelphia. Howie Roseman is the iconic GM that understands culture. He understands building a team, and he understands refiltering players into the team. Right? The Eagles have a very different roster now than they did just a few years ago. That's something you need to do, but the culture remains. All right. And to be fair, they're not the only team that does that. There's plenty of other teams that have cultures like that. All right. But clean sweep, man. If I'm a Bears fan right now, I'm devastated just at the state of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned, a lot of teams in the NFL in general, right? A lot of teams, there's a lot of turnover on rosters, right? It's hard to, with the salary cap, keep a lot of guys and keep them around. And especially when a lot of money sometimes gets tied up in franchise quarterbacks or things of that nature. You need a lot of turnover.
Yeah. And like the lack of understanding of having a good O-line, like how important that is to winning. And
we'll get into that.
Everybody wants the great, wide receiver and the great running back, but you're not going anywhere without an O-line or a D-line. So it's like,
no, it's still, football has not changed in 100 years. I've been saying this forever. Nobody seems to want to listen. The game is won in the trenches. A running game is still paramount, controlling the clock. That's why the Lions are winning right now. They're controlling the line of scrimmage, using the run game to control the clock. You have put together, even the other day, the Chiefs beat the Jets. They had the ball for the last 7.5 minutes of the game.
Right.
They ran the ball. That's how you win the game.
Right. Hard-nosed football is what Lombardi used to say. And
that's
the thing
it.
It's also unfair sometimes. We talk about star quarterbacks who deserve their day and deserve all the praise they're getting, but they most of the time have unbelievably fantastic O-lines. Right. Yes. I don't know what Fields could do if you put him in front of an incredible O-line. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the tough part about that position too.
For sure. Absolutely. But we mentioned Carolina. We've been talking about the quarterback position. This has been an interesting year so far. Of course, a major draft class. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, all taken. I think it was in the top 5 picks. 3 quarterbacks, the Colts, the Texans, and the Panthers. And it's the quarter mark now of the NFL season. And a lot of folks, these guys are they'll be inextricably linked forever, right? It's the same thing as Rivers, Manning, and Roethlisberger, right? That same class of quarterbacks, and they're always going to kind of be tied together. And a lot of folks, and rightfully so, were very, very high on Bryce Young. And I think so far, he's been the worst of the 3 quarterbacks, I would say. And not just looking at numbers. Now, I'm not going to lie. Obviously, he missed a game with injury. And obviously, again, Carolina is probably farther along or farther away from being a winning team than maybe the Colts or even the Texans. But look, there's a reason why these 2 teams had top 5 picks. They're not really great ball clubs either. But CJ Stroud has more 300-yard passing games than Justin Fields now in 4 games in his career. Yeah. And Anthony Richardson, if they get him some receivers in Indianapolis, I watched a lot of that game against the Rams. Kid can play. Kid knows where to go with the ball. He knows when to move around the pocket. If he can stay in the field, because I know he's already had a concussion in his career now. If he can stay on the field, they said that Anthony Richardson had probably the highest ceiling of all of these quarterbacks. And right now, I agree that that's probably the truth. And for me, if I'm a Colts fan, I'm feeling the best out of everybody. How do you feel about these young quarterbacks?
Well, look, I think today, 4 games in, Stroud's the clear winner at the moment, right? I think if you combine Richardson and Young's complete yards pass, I think it's still not as much as Stroud has done this year. So he's throwing top 5 in the league right now. So I think anytime a rookie comes in is in the top 5, keeping in mind what you said, Ray, it's not just him, the team in front of him plays a big role, but you're up there with Mahomes. I mean, you're up there with these guys. You're obviously doing something right. Now, with that said, it's so hard to gauge rookies at this point. I think the point is that all 3 of them don't look like they're going to be out of the league anytime soon.
No.
Right. And that's the key. You never know if a college quarterback is going to translate into a great NFL quarterback. You just don't know. I mean, there's so many examples from Brady all the way to Carson Wentz, really, when you think about it. Right. So it's one of those things of, as of today, Stroud is the clear winner of that class, but I think all 3 teams have won. And again, it's, as a fan, if you're a fan of those teams, the question is, do you feel hope? All right. Do you feel hope? All right. I can tell you right now, the Texans and the Colts feeling hope.
For sure. Right? I mean, I think you're right. I mean, look, right now, CJ Stroud is the best of the 3.
Yeah.
I would pick, for me personally, right now, from what I've seen, I would take Richardson. I think Richardson in the long run is going to be the best of these 3. Personally.
Sure.
And Young is fine. Young is young. He's going to be, I think he's, like you said, he's going to be fine, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see where these 3 guys shake out after 4 games. You're already maybe starting to see some of those early storylines develop. Yeah.
Well, look, like, again, the difference between Carolina and Chicago is there's hope in Carolina. Like, oh, wow, we're going a different direction here, right? We're going forward. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Colts are ahead of the Texans right now in the standings too, but it's only because of a head-to-head
tiebreaker. The tiebreaker.
So it's cool for that division alone to have those 2 rookies going against each other, and we'll see where they land. One of the interesting things about young quarterbacks is there's this huge gap now at quarterback where a lot of the legendary quarterbacks, Hall of Fame quarterbacks, are out of the league now. And you've seen that over the last 5-6 years, all of them have retired. All right. Now suddenly Mahomes is the top guy.
He's the elder statesman of the league. Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow that happened real quick. So you need these young guys to come in and take a role, and good on them for stepping up in the first 4 games. I mean, they're there.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's really interesting. I mean, to be fair, Carolina almost beat Minnesota this weekend too. In a battle of 0-3s. It was
the battle. There was a lot of 0-3 battles this weekend.
A lot of 0-3 battles.
Part of the script. It's part of the script.
Part of the script. Speaking of the script, I guess Taylor Swift Mania is sweeping the country as all the Swifties have now infiltrated the NFL. I, for one, welcome them all to the football.
I welcome our new Swift overlords.
Yeah. Look, if people want to learn about football and all that, whatever gets them involved, I'm all for it, right?
Yeah.
I know there are some folks out there who are being like, I'm so sick of them cutting away the Taylor Swift. Get over yourself. Seriously, they've done this for years with every celebrity in the press box over the years, whether it was a president, whether it was a governor, whether it was a superstar like Tom Hanks or Tim Robbins or whoever, whether it was sports, other players. The Rangers always cut to the Yankees when the Yankees are watching the Ranger games. The Rangers are always cutting to, or the Yankees are always cutting to the Rangers when they come to watch the Yankee game. Like, that's just the way it is. Now, could we do with maybe 1 or 2 less Mike Tirico Swift puns? Absolutely. I can't, but that also has to go with the fact that I think that Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth the primetime broadcasters in general, they're all terrible. They're all terrible. I hate them all. Al Michaels. Al Michaels was a legend, but it is clear that he's there just for the Amazon paycheck and he's mailing it in.
He is past his prime. God bless him.
Yeah. Yes. Look, Madden and Summerall knew when it was time to hang up the headphones. And for whatever reason, I mean, Jeff Bezos must have written Al Michaels one heck of a check to get him to come out of retirement. Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth, always terrible. And Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Troy's not as bad, but Joe Buck is.
Troy's fine. I've never had a problem with Troy.
I really never had an issue as much with Aikman as the color guy, but we all hate Joe Buck. So the primetime broadcast teams are horrendous all around. So that's a whole different problem, more than than Mike Tirico doing another Taylor Swift pun. So.
Well, look, it's funny, Ray. You brought that up. I'm not going to say I'm surprised at your answer, but I'm with you here. I don't have a problem with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce I'm surprised so many people do. I will say there's a little bit of mania. That's the right word around it.
Yeah.
But what do you expect the NFL to do? I mean, everyone's talking about it. You want them to not talk about it? Keep in mind, and I'm not going to dive into it, but the mania we were talking about years ago was the national anthem. So to be fair, this is pretty refreshing to hear about this. It's a little reminiscent of Barbenheimer, right? When Barbie and Oppenheimer came out at the same time. I think this is kind of a post-COVID thing where these unusual mixtures or chemical balances or imbalances make a problem. But look, as you said, and extremely wise words, Ray, it's bringing a lot of new people into the sport.
Yes.
Right. And I don't care how much you know. Football fans should be with open arms.
Yeah.
Welcoming anyone who wants to be involved in the game. And I think that's exactly why the NFL is buying in. Now, I will say all this also. Okay. The thing that makes me kind of grit my teeth, kind of like that, is the inevitable fall of this when things will inevitably go south.
Yes.
You know, and again, I really do wish the best for that situation. I'm not just
100%.
Yeah,
I mean, the jokes are already out there where they're talking about people are talking about. It's like, so the average Taylor Swift relationship is 6 weeks. That means she'll break up with Kelce right before the game against the Dolphins, which could be a huge game for AFC standings. And so like people are looking at that, like people like I'm all for the jokes because it's like, the real storyline now is, will Taylor Swift destroy the Chiefs? Will she destroy like Travis Kelce?
Right. And you know, it's funny, as an Eagles fan, sometimes I joke that I hope she ruins the whole team. But joking aside, you know, the truth is this, you know, I don't wish ill will on anybody. And if they're having a good time, that's great. Again, they are going to let's talk about this, Ray. You want a weird little segue. We don't have to leave sports because we still have to talk baseball here. But this story is so big that Wolverine and Deadpool were literally in the booth with her and nobody noticed except for me and you. We're like, but Deadpool and Wolverine are there. They're right there. No one talked about that. Now, I will remind everybody listening from a geek standpoint, 6 months ago, Hugh Jackman showed up in a yellow Wolverine costume. World lost its freaking mind.
Yeah.
But next to the power of Swift, we're not.
And by the way, that only has fueled the fire for that rumor that Taylor Swift is going to play Dazzler in Deadpool 3.
Yes.
So that's a whole other story.
I know. Can you imagine
a whole
that
other
happened?
segment of the show?
You know, nobody would care. Football fans, are you going to join us in our journey about should she play Dazzler? Anyway, look, it was a really interesting thing that like the owner of the Wrexham Football Club was there, and nobody seemed to care. Which is amazing. It shows you the power of this story, that the fact that they were there and no one talked about that. In fact, I haven't even seen any Wolverine Deadpool jokes about it. So long story short, yes, it's the story of the day or the story of the week. It will definitely die down eventually. I'm sure at some point Travis and Swift and all the Swifties will want to just resume their life. All right, but you're getting a power. I do love the jokes, like the Chiefs sold out and she's visited more football stadiums than he will this year. I love the internet content of just that she put Kelce on the map. I think all this is very funny.
I mean, look, he went from the number 19 overall selling jersey to the number 1 selling jersey in the NFL. More Chief custom jerseys with his number and Swifty on the back are being sold, or something along those lines. You're seeing, and to be fair, and there's also some folks are already trying to burst the bubble. People are like, well, the last Chiefs game had more ratings than this one. True, but it was a increase in ratings for Sunday Night Football. Not as many people watch Sunday Night Football as you think, because Sunday Night Football sucks. Most of the time, it's not a very good game anymore.
Well, and you know what's funny? What's funny is the storyline for this game was supposed to be Aaron Rodgers versus Mahomes.
Right.
And they had to find something. They had to give you something to watch it for. So the amount of people that watch it just to see if she was there. Hey, whatever, man. Whatever brings people to the most wonderful sport there is to watch outside hockey. You know, I'm all for it, right? And the other funny joke, and I gotta say this, is just in Philadelphia, we're having a lot of fun with this because we have a Kelce and we have a Swift on our team.
Yes.
And the jokes of that's the only Kelce Swift connection we really care about is there. And hey, good on the Kelce brothers for kind of openly talking about this on New Heights, which is a fantastic podcast. If you haven't listened to it, just really funny. But they're banking on this too. I don't know if you saw, but Jason Kelce brought Jake from State Farm, who's clearly a sponsor of theirs. and said, I can bring celebrities too. So they're having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And I, again, yes, it's going to happen. You might as well sit back and enjoy it. When it gets horrible to the point people are annoyed, they'll stop showing it.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think we're there yet. So just enjoy the
couple
ride,
more
folks.
weeks.
Yeah. All right. Going into a couple of specific games, obviously you mentioned Philadelphia a few times, Eagles and Commanders.
We almost said it. You almost said the old name. I saw it.
But I didn't.
But you didn't. Yeah.
Washington. Actually, you know what? I almost called them the Washington football team is what I wanted.
That would have been cool. But let's talk about the Commanders.
Yeah, the Washington football team. They have a quarterback, I think, in Sam Howell. Yeah. They're not there yet, but I think Washington is definitely a lot more threatening than they've been in more recent years. And they gave you guys a run for your money. And honestly, if it wasn't for a misstep on a forearm there on the sideline on a long third down in overtime, and then you guys get the ball back and obviously took advantage of it, that could have been a very different game. But that game getting under the wire, and I'll say this. I'm curious about this. First off, for those who don't know, the Eagles beat Washington 34-31 in overtime.
To go
Washington tied it. Washington tied it on the last play of the game, which was a really beautiful drive. Really expertly done drive there by Sam Howell. This is why I really think they do have a quarterback and they're going to be a threat much sooner rather than later. Would you have gone for 2 there last play, 31-30, instead of kicking the tying extra point going to overtime? Would you have gone for 2?
No, I don't think so. Eagles defense is very good. Number one, I think. I know it's not red zone would be the term here, but it is very hard to score that close to the end zone. I think people don't understand that fully, right? When you run out of room, it's a lot easier for the defense. It's in their hands. The other thing too is, I mean, if they don't make that conversion, you might have broken the team, right? Everyone can accept them tying it up and then losing in overtime because they came back, right? It's very hard to accept going for 2 and not getting that overtime opportunity. So I think they made the absolutely right call there. I don't think the defense for the Eagles were on the heels at the moment. You know what I mean? Right. I think they would have loved the opportunity to end the game. You know, here's the other thing, right? People always talk about those last second 2 points for the win. They don't talk about that. It's equally as exciting for the D, right? They can win the game too, right? Yeah. So it's like the momentum shift there is not what people think it is. I also don't think it works that often. I would love to see the conversion numbers on that. I don't think it's in their favor. Right. Keeping in mind,
I want to say it's like 50-50.
Well, look, here's the other thing. All right.
Maybe slightly in favor of the offense, I think, like 53-47 kind of thing.
We should look that up, because if that's true, then more teams probably should try it. But look, here's the other thing too. It's I almost did it now. The Commanders won the coin toss in overtime. I mean, they had every opportunity to win that game. Yeah. All right. I will say this about that team, just going back to our earlier conversation. There is a team with a new culture, new owner, new understanding of, hey, we want to be great. We have a quarterback. So you're seeing that now start to shine through in their play a little bit. I'll also say something I said all of the episodes we had prior to this, that anytime 2 NFC East teams come together, I don't care I don't care where you are in the standings. They all can beat each other. They always get up for those games. Whether the Eagles are playing Giants, Cowboys, or Commanders, everybody, we're going to kill them. I just don't say that. Yeah. And it's gone reverse. When the Eagles were not good, we would be the one that would spoil other teams' chances. So you never know. It was a classic game. It was a wonderful game to watch. Obviously, I'm happy the Eagles won that game. Now, here's the other thing I'm going to say about it. The Eagles have not been, I think, the top form that we've expected, and they're 4-0. Jalen Hurts actually had a better game last Sunday, but they're just warming up. I mean, that team looks really dangerous if I'm looking at them, right? They're not playing to their potential yet.
The Eagles, I used to say this about the Yankees in the late 90s. The Eagles look like they're just kind of coasting until playoff time.
Right.
And then that's when they're going to turn it on. This is a team that I feel is built specifically to win in the playoffs. They'll win the division. They might not get the 1 seed because the Niners are also clicking on all cylinders and all that. Yeah. But the Eagles look like they're built to win in the playoffs. Not saying they will.
They're a Super Bowl or bust team right now.
They're all in. They're all in. This is likely Kelce's
yeah.
last year at center. Like he's likely retiring at the end of this year, so it's last hurrah for him.
Right.
And people are going to rally around that. Obviously, last year's loss to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl stings a bit for a lot of guys. Like, there's a chip on a lot of people's shoulder. And as we know, the last thing you want is to face somebody from Philadelphia with a chip on their shoulder. So
yeah, that's fair. That's what people say about me at men's league sometimes. But we're all from Philadelphia, so it doesn't matter. But I will say this. Look, there's only 4 or 5 teams in the league each year that are that Super Bowl or bust. And it doesn't always work for them. But, I'd say the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Niners, these are all teams that should be there. Not only 2 make it, only 1 wins. But look, it was a great game. I mean, any Eagles fan who watched that game didn't think that was a great game. I don't look at it like, I can't believe the Commanders, stayed in there, right? No, they're not a bad team.
They're on the up and coming. Yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna disrupt some stuff in the NFC East. I would not be surprised if we split with them. Keeping in mind this game was in Philly.
Right.
And all things are pointing that I'll be at the game in Washington. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice. So we talked about Super Bowl or bust. Let's talk about a couple of busts.
Yeah.
Specifically my New York Giants.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about the New York Giants.
Season's over, folks. Season's over at 1-3. We've got Miami and Buffalo next, so it means we 1-5, and then we face Washington, so possibly 1-6, and then the Jets, which at that point the teams will probably have 3 wins between them. We'll both be well out of it. The game won't matter. It won't. The Giants. I mean, I will say this: I think we have the right coach. I think we have the right GM. I still don't think we have the right quarterback.
Have you ever?
Well, Eli for a couple of years.
Oh no, I meant now. I mean, have you ever?
And that's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm not going to deny that Daniel Jones had a really great second half of the season last year, won a playoff game. It looked like he might have been turning a corner. The Giants are like, we're going to get you weapons. We're going to get you an offensive line. But to me, and I get it was a contract year. To me, you got to say, and I said this when this happened, you got to say, do it again. You got to say, do it again in case that was a fluke. And, I was talking to my buddy Alex last night, and Alex was like, most quarterbacks make a big leap from year 2 to year 3. And you guys got impressed because Jones made a big leap from year 3 to year 4. That's unusual. And I'm like, you're right. It is unusual. And it was like, was it the coaches? Was it finally having the offensive line? To be fair, Daniel Jones had like a couple of different head coaches, several offensive coordinators. Not easy to win. You look at somebody like an Alex Smith all those years ago in San Francisco, and he struggled and he struggled and he struggled. Finally got some consistency, and he excelled. Right? Could this have been that situation with Daniel Jones? We now know, no. Daniel Jones out of Duke is a piece of garbage. Okay? He is a bum. He should never have gotten a 4-year, $160 million contract. I said it in the moment. I said I would never have gone above 3 years, and I definitely wouldn't have given him that much money. And if he walked, so be it. That's it. You just let him walk. Goodbye. Because here's the other thing. You played hardball with Saquon Barkley as well. You should have, because Saquon proving again, he's injury prone. While he's on the field, he's great. But also the problem with the Giants offense and Daniel Jones in particular, 60% of the Giants offense comes from Saquon Barkley. That is a problem. You can't, as much as I love the running game and as much as I love winning the game in the trenches, you can't win in the NFL when 60% of your offense comes from one guy. Oh, and by the way, even with all that extra offense, the Giants only average 3 more points a game when he's on the field. Without Barkley, the Giants score 17. You're not going to win a lot of games in the NFL scoring 17 points. But even with Barkley, they only score 20. You're still not going to win a lot of games in the NFL when you only score 20 points a game. Okay? Daniel Jones now is 1-12 in his career in prime time. That is the worst record by far in NFL history. He has more career turnovers than he does touchdowns. I'm sorry. You made a mistake. You guaranteed Daniel Jones out of Duke almost $90 million, 4 years, $160 million. And now the Giants, mark my words, they're going to look like the Bears in the next couple of years. Because despite having the right coach and despite maybe having the right GM, we are now in such salary cap hell that we are not going to be able to re-sign anyone. The only reason why we have a team on the field right now is a multitude of one-year contracts. We are going to be picking up every scrub off the street. Call up Vince Papale, for Christ's sakes, because that's where we're going to be soon. Because the Giants got fooled. They fell into the trap the way the Cowboys did against the Cardinals last week. The Giants fell into the trap. They fell in love with Daniel Jones all over again because he played good for 12 games out of the last 60 of his freaking career. It was a fluke, and you paid him too much money. Did he deserve a new contract? I would have given him 2 years, 80 mil. I would have given him 2 years. Sure. I would have even given him 3 years. I would have said 3 years, 90 mil. 3 years, you stay under the cap. You gave him 4 years, $160 million. You moron!
Well, right.
Season's over. Stop watching.
It looks to be over. I'll say this about Daniel Jones. Do you think, I'm being honest here, that contract to me is someone in the organization saying, I need to save my job. We picked this guy and we need him to work. So we're going to put all our confidence into him. I know the guy is not there. I'm saying
the guy who picked him was already fired.
I wonder if it's an organizational thing of, we got to go all in on this kid, and it's just not working. The thing is, even with the good second half last year, we had conversations about this. I just wasn't convinced. It was a great time to move him. It's a great time to let him walk. And there's plenty of good quarterbacks on the market they could have brought in.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, man. Sometimes I wonder if the New York Giants get lost in the New York isms of that team.
Absolutely.
And that magic is possible. And it's just, again, taking my own fandom out of it. I don't think I would have made that bet.
Not for that much money and not for that length of contract. Like I said,
easy in hindsight,
even three. But as soon as I heard,
I wouldn't have re-signed him. I would not have re-signed him. That's what I'm trying to say. I would have looked. Fair. I would have drafted. If you wanted to keep him here, I would have drafted. There's plenty of people to draft last year.
Yeah.
All right. So it's just a lot of this, I think, is the New York Giants saying, no, we're going to look like geniuses if this works out. And we're the Giants and everything always works out. That's just not true. Again, when your 60% of offense gets hurt because there's going to be targeted every game, it's going to get really bleak.
Yeah. And to be fair, look, and here's the thing. I know that the Giants offensive line is still banged up. Like the whole left side of the line is banged up. But there were still things that were on Daniel Jones, right? When he got hit on the blind side of that fumble, everybody in the stadium, except for him, knew the blitz was coming from that side. Right. You could see the corner on the line ready to go. Your job as the cornerback is to be like, hey, tight end, come over here, stop him. You block him. That's before play. That is simple. I mean, and again, we go back to Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman was like, that's on the quarterback.
Right.
The quarterback needs to recognize that blitz. It's his 5th year in the league.
I'm dumbfounded. Right. I am dumbfounded that they have invested in Daniel Jones. He's never shown any. Again, even in the second half, he's never shown anything that he's going to be the guy.
No,
I don't understand.
To me, he's a good career backup.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a guy who, like a Chase Daniel or something, if you need an emergency, somebody to put a shot in the arm or something, like your main guy goes down, then you can bring in Daniel Jones.
I could see him being
a franchise quarterback.
I could see him being a Nick Foles for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't even go that high. Like I said, Chase Daniel, I wouldn't even go Nick Foles high. But he could be a backup. He's a serviceable quarterback. He is not a franchise.
To be fair, he's going to be a backup next year, a very high paid backup.
I mean, if they're smart, and look, here's the thing. He's guaranteed, I think, $88 million. I think was the actual
give his agent credit. I mean, they did it great on their end.
Tyrod Taylor, his contract expires this year, draft somebody, and then transitional year next year, start over. And to start over, you got to start over because he's not the guy. He's not the guy. I'm sorry. He's the fact that he's in the 5th year and he's still throwing pick sixes on the goal line. Again, the Giants defense, you really can only blame the Giants defense for 10 points last night. They lost 24-3 on Monday Night Football with the Seahawks. Jones didn't recognize the blitz, got hit on the blind side, fumbles it at the 9, and obviously the next play, the Seahawks score a touchdown. And then the pick 6, the Giants are finally driving, finally doing something. 97-yard return, which, by the way, Devin Witherspoon is going to be a superstar. The Seahawks really got a steal with the number 5 pick, I think, overall, or 6 pick with that kid. That kid looks phenomenal. If that kid plays against everybody else like he does the Giants, that kid is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But anyway, he looked amazing last night, and he had that pick 6. That's on Daniel Jones. Even Dable, and this is why I still think we have the right coach. Dable got in his face and is like, what the hell are you doing? He threw the tablet at him. Because it's sickening for everybody now at this point. Even the coaches are sick of him. Goodbye. Again, and this goes back to the thing that I said 4 years ago. You never draft a quarterback out of Duke. Let's talk baseball.
Hashtag never draft a quarterback out of Duke. Spread like wildfire.
Baseball playoffs. Lee's holding up the bracket if you're watching the YouTube
Baseball.
video.
Hey, wait, before we get into this, let's talk about this, because the last time we did a show, I wasn't too favorable of the MLB. And I want to say that over the last few years, because they obviously listen to our show, they've made some really great changes that have made the game more enjoyable, including the pitch clock,
yes.
Including not letting people do a lot of performance-enhancing drugs again. And also just generally have tightened up the league to a point where it's more enjoyable to watch. And I wanted to say that because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here in this next section, because I was very critical of the MLB. But I also want to say that they have done a great job, in my opinion, over the last 2 seasons of really rectifying a lot of the problems and making it a much more enjoyable game to watch.
I am a fan of the pitch clock as well.
Yes, although they have really done a horrible job with their greatest athlete in 100 years at allowing him to become probably better than he should be. And it looks like next year he'll be someplace better. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will. Obviously, we'll do a hot stove episode later in the year. But yeah, Shohei Ohtani, what a sin. The Angels, and to be fair, the Angels went all in this year. The Angels went all in, traded for everybody. And then Ohtani got hurt. Stroud got hurt again. Several of the guys they acquired got hurt. Like, that is just a snake bit franchise. Ever since that Disney was smart. The Angels won the World Series in 2002. Then Disney sold them.
We're out.
And they haven't been that good since.
We made our movie. We got our World Series. We're out.
That's it. Everything that Disney sells dies. That's a fact. So there's a reason why they're selling them, folks. There's a reason why. Yeah, I mean, the Angels are just absolutely snake bits. So, yeah, the Angels aren't in the playoffs. Neither are my Yankees. Lee mentioned culture earlier. Boy, the culture in there is absolutely a mess. Aaron Judge basically said as much in his post comments of the final game of the year, basically talking kind of a backhanded shot at the front office and a lot of the other things. The Yankees finished 82-80. They do continue their streak of 31 straight years finishing above 500, but missed the playoffs by 7 games.
That is not a Yankee standard.
Yeah, it doesn't really care. I
think the Yankees. I hate to group the Yankees with the Mets, Ray, but it is a great example of that. I'm going to call it a New York mentality of, hey, you're here, we should win. We bought the best players, you should win. It's not enough when you have the other greatest baseball player playing in 100 years saying that it's not good back here. When you're the Yankees, no excuses. All right, and make no mistake, I'll say this. The baseball world needs the evil empire. You know, I'm saying this sarcastically. You need that presence because it makes the game better, right? So for that team to collapse, now the Mets I kind of gloat about, but it's like the same thing. If you bought the whole world, and guess what? It doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah.
Again, Yankees high payroll, Mets high payroll, out of the playoffs. You know,
the small
Rays are in the playoffs, low payroll.
Baltimore is the 1 seed in the American League because listen, the other thing is
the
with the rule changes. Yes,
in the league, not just the American League. Yeah,
the Orioles. Oh no, it is the American League because the Braves are number 1 overall.
I don't talk about them
they don't
in the league. No, I know. The Orioles.
But, it's the first time Baltimore's had 100 wins since 1980. We weren't born the last time the Orioles won this many games. And the thing is, this is the thing.
Wasn't Ripken a rookie?
I don't know. Ripken wasn't even
there yet. That's 83 I'm thinking of. You're right.
Yeah. So the thing is the game has changed they've gotten rid of the shift. They made the bases bigger. We had the first 40-70 man this year in terms of Ronald Acuna Jr., who should be the MVP.
Yeah, he should be. Yeah.
The Yankees are still trying to hit home runs when baseball has healed itself and small ball is good enough to win ball games. Hit and runs, singles, stolen bases, the
baseball.
walk home run doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Because now too many guys are just striking out. The Yankees, the game have passed the Yankees by in a lot of ways.
Which is amazing when you think about the money ball aspects of things. And again, look, the one thing, I'm a believer in sabermetrics and things like that, but the one thing it can't do is that team culture. And when you look at the teams that are there, the Orioles, how they winning, they finally have a good team culture. They believe, they weren't expected to be there, but they are, right? And again, look adversely. You can look at the Dodgers. There's a team, they have a team culture, whether you want them to or not. Houston has a team culture. The Braves, probably one of the most steady and consistent team cultures in all of baseball history.
Yes.
So again, it's annoying to me, but it's amazing at the same time.
Yes. So we dancing around the playoffs. Let's actually talk about the bracket. We've actually got games. The first wild card games are going on as we're speaking.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, the Rangers took game 1 4-0. That's not a surprise.
Not a
to
surprise
me.
At all. They're gonna go right through to the next round.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think Tampa Bay is too banged up. They're angry, and Tampa Bay is really too banged up. And we're gonna get into some of the things. Obviously, Wander Franco is no longer with Tampa Bay because of all the allegations against him, and rightfully so. There's obviously innocent until proven guilty, but the evidence against him is a lot, it seems. But yeah, so Tampa Bay, the fact they got to the playoffs, I think is enough for them. They lost their number one starter a couple of months ago. They are banged up, and they limped into the playoffs. And the Rangers, to me, should win this series and advance. The Twins, surprisingly, are up on Toronto 3-0 in game 1. We'll see if they hold on. Because to me, I thought Toronto would roll right over the Twins. And I'm still going to predict this. I still think Toronto should beat Minnesota. I still think Texas should beat Tampa. And then I think it would be Texas versus
Orioles.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I believe, and I think Houston would beat Toronto then. I think it would be Baltimore versus Houston in the ALCS. And I think the Orioles are going to win their first pennant in our lifetimes.
Probably.
I think the
83, I think, was the last one. So
yes,
look, I'll say this, looking at storylines here, right? Texas is pissed because they lost out the last game of the season of being in the top of their division. Yeah. So this is what I think. All right. If the Orioles beat Texas, I actually think they go to the World Series. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
With that said, Texas wants Houston. They want them bad. So I think that Texas wants to get to the ALCS to make sure that they meet up with Houston. And I think Texas could actually go to the World Series this year, where they will lose. But
yeah, whoever wins the American League is going to lose.
I will say this: if Baltimore and Houston come out of their divisional series, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I want Baltimore to succeed just because it hasn't happened. And look, I've never met a mean O's fan ever, right? So it's just
they've been very humble for a very long time.
Yeah, for good reason, right? But I'll be honest with you, Ray. Like the Yankees aren't there. Sometimes I pull for the Yankees for you. That's not a joke. Sometimes my friends are there. It doesn't bother me till they get to the series. And obviously, as an NL fan, you want to take on the Yankees in the World Series. But with them not there, storyline wise, I'd love to see the Orioles. But I'm very much in an anyone but Houston boat. Still have not forgiven them, not just for last year, but just for everything over the last few years. So. I think my wild card, my dark horse, I think Texas could angrily drive themselves all the way to the series. I think that. Okay.
That's absolutely possible. Yeah. Absolutely possible. I think that's a fair assessment that whoever wins Baltimore, Texas could win the American League. I think that's a fair.
Because again, if Baltimore wins that, now they're playoff minded, right? Now they're ready. Yeah. The only thing about Baltimore that makes me nervous is like they haven't faced a tremendous amount of adversity in the stress column this year. I'm not saying they didn't have adversity as a baseball team. And it's like, that first playoff series you have in a long time, you can get punched in the mouth if you're not careful.
Yep.
Right. So they better be ready. They don't have experience, right? Where the Rangers do. So we're going to see what happens here.
Some of the Rangers do, yes. Yeah, obviously.
More of them than the Orioles.
Definitely more than the Orioles.
I'm trying to say.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah. And meanwhile, in the National League, I mean, I know you hate me to say this, Lee. I really just think the Braves are going to win it all. I think the thing is the Braves year again. They're just such a stacked team.
It's an
pitching and hitting
one.
Wise.
Here's the deal, and yeah, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here. The Phillies look very dangerous to me. They look angry. They look very upset that they did not win the World Series last year. So
and especially when Angel Hernandez is at third base as the umpire, they're very, very
so great. I'm glad you brought that up. So for those who don't know, Bryce Harper went off on Angel Hernandez on a check swing.
And rightfully so, by the way. 100%. I am totally in Bryce Harper's court.
But the game didn't matter. So this shows you how raged these guys are to win, right? And obviously I watch a lot of Phillies and I see them. So yeah, I'm obviously very hopeful. Now this is the deal. I agree with you, Ray, that Atlanta is too strong. It depends. I'm assuming the Phillies are going to win their series, right?
I agree. I believe the Phillies will beat Miami. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to say, I'm actually going to say now, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say the Diamondbacks are going to beat the Brewers now because Brandon Woodruff, who's the number 2 pitcher for the Brewers, is now going to miss the entire playoffs. Yeah, he got hurt in the last couple of days of the season. It is a huge loss. So I will say this. Actually, this is what I'll specifically say. Zach Gallen, Corbin Burns, ace versus ace. Whoever wins game 1 of that series wins the series. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think either of those teams is going past the Dodgers.
And that's also true because I don't think it really matters once it gets out of the wild card.
Right. So this is what I'm going to say. Atlanta is by far the strongest team in the league, right? Yeah. If the Phillies win their series and get to Atlanta, and they are the Phillies from last year's playoffs,
they handle the Dodgers no problem. The Dodgers are banged up. The Dodgers don't have a lot of depth.
So I'm going to say that my dark horse is the Phillies. I have to say it like that because I can't ignore Atlanta. Right?
I would agree with that completely. I would go Atlanta 1 and I would go Philadelphia 2. I would agree with that completely.
They're ready to win. And here's the thing is that, and as a coach and as a team builder, there's the storyline. It's almost entirely the same team, but better than last year. And they are hungry. Yeah. They are hungry. I don't know if you saw this too, but Michael Lorenzen, who threw a no-hitter his first outing, we didn't even include him on the playoff roster. That's how deep the Phillies are. Oh, wow. Right? Yeah, we were using him as a closer, and they left him off the roster for this series. Right? So the Phillies are hungry. And if you're able to leave a guy like Lorenzen off, that should tell you how deep they are. And again, look, I have to look at the stats, but I believe the Phillies, if you look at the Phillies and Atlanta post the Trey Turner standing ovation, I think the Phillies are actually the better team. Right? So it's an interesting thing here. I'm looking forward for that battle because that's going to be an absolute battle. Right.
If the Phillies pitching can shut down Atlanta's bats,
right,
you will score your runs against Atlanta's pitching.
Yes.
And you can win that series.
Keep in mind,
can you limit Acuna and Olsen and damage the heart of that line?
I can't answer that, but I can tell you that Schwarber is hitting like crazy. Turner is hitting like crazy. Bryce Harper is getting stronger every game. Yeah. Right. There is a very, very small chance, extremely small chance that we get some other players back by the World Series.
Like a Rhys Hoskins?
Yes. All right, now, with that said, I don't know if we want to bring Rhys Hoskins in for a late playoff game.
You never know. Didn't the Cubs do that with Schwarber in 2016?
I believe they did, and now he plays with us. So it's one of those things of
it could work.
A lot of storylines there, and yes, I'm a Phillies fan, but I really am enjoying that team. I really hope for them to go a long way this year. And if they do lose, I hope it is to an Atlanta, which is it's a worthy opponent, right? You don't want to go out against the Marlins in the first round.
No, for sure,
right?
For sure.
So, my dark horse picks are Phillies Rangers. I would not mind seeing Braves Orioles. Classic.
I think Braves Orioles is the betting man's pick.
Sure.
I think Braves to win it all, obviously, and then I think that. But yes, I do think Rangers Phillies could absolutely happen. I think that's absolutely a within the realm of possibility. So yeah,
and I love the wild card. I know this is years old. I love the wild card games. I love what they've done. Yes. It's just another reason to love the MLB right now.
Well, they finally it took them 30 years. They finally caught up to the NFL model.
Yeah, and it works. It works.
It works.
And it's 3 games. It's exciting. I remember those 1-game playoffs were like, what are you doing?
I hated the 1-game playoff.
Right.
Hated it.
There's only one
Win
sport
or lose. The Yankees have won some of those. The Yankees
right?
have lost some of those. I hated the 1-game playoff.
There's only one sport that should have 1-game playoffs, and it's football.
Yeah.
Right. And the MLB, I gotta say it, done a great job. There's been no crazy stuff that's happened. The baseball's been good. The only controversy, we'll talk about this in a future episode now, is the umpires and the calls. Yeah. All right, which is the next change, and I'm sure in 2062
it's time. They have it in the minor leagues where you can challenge balls and strikes.
Has to happen.
It should be allowed at the big league level at this point.
Now that you have the pitch clock, it has to happen.
Absolutely, 100%.
Or take that damn rectangle off my TV, please.
100%.
Please take that off my television. I don't want to know.
It only infuriates us more.
Yeah.
Speaking of something that was a little infuriating, we mentioned the Wander Franco accusations, and again, he is going to have his day in court. It does not look good, but it is not our job to pass judgment. That will happen in a court of law, and
we can once he's found guilty.
Exactly. Once he's found guilty, once he's found guilty, he should go to jail for the rest of his life, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For this particular crime, that's simple. But he still has not been found guilty yet. And I think that is something that we need to talk about, because I think especially something that happened in the pandemic, and I think that's the pendulum's starting to come back to normal, right? Where the court of social media, the court of public opinion, started to trump the court of justice, the court of law, the actual courts, right? And I think that what happened with one particular, and we've now heard several stories of false accusations against people, and every accusation should be taken seriously and should be investigated to its fullest, right? And we need to say that, right? It's not poo-pooing on the accusations. But if those accusations are found to be false, then that's it. You have to then move on and allow the individual who was accused to go back to his life. Because just because he was accused does not mean he was guilty. And in the case of one Trevor Bauer, who, and again, look, even he admits he's a loudmouth on social media. He ruffled a lot of he rattled a lot of cages and ruffled a lot of feathers at the Major League Baseball front office because he liked to run his mouth. That does not mean that the accusations for what he was charged for. He wasn't even charged, actually. For those who don't know, he was accused of sexual assault. The judge threw the case out. They're basically like, there is no evidence of what this woman was claiming. Then people are like, well, why is nothing being said? Because Trevor then sued the woman who accused him for libel, I believe, and defamation of character and whatnot. She then countersued him, and there was a civil case. And whenever things are in civil litigation, the public doesn't know.
Right.
But people automatically assumed that Trevor Bauer was guilty because he wasn't defending himself, but he couldn't publicly defend himself because of the case that was ongoing.
Yeah, it's because people don't know how the law works.
Yeah, right. Because nobody teaches civics anymore. Don't get me started on that.
True.
But I know I sound like an old man there, but it is the truth, folks.
Get off my lawn.
Right. But what ended up happening is that now those cases have been litigated, and actually they've come to the decision that they're both going to drop their mutual lawsuits because, and it was actually her lawyers that proposed that, because after discovery, which is where they go looking for evidence, it was found that she had absolutely no case. And in fact, actually, if that had gone to court, Trevor would have won his lawsuit because there was so much evidence of her false claims against him that it would have been a slam dunk. And so she dropped her case on the condition that he drops his, and that's it. And Trevor Bauer came out publicly, released all the evidence that his lawyers had made in discovery, or at least some of it anyway. And now it is time for baseball to apologize to Trevor Bauer and let him return from his exile from Japan and make his money and go pitch from somebody if somebody wishes to sign him. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to get blacklisted still, like Colin Kaepernick, because he's been labeled as a troublemaker. But I think that we need to understand that Trevor Bauer was falsely accused and he did nothing wrong. And that is the truth. And the truth has been released, and the truth should set him free.
Well, I think it has. And the video that he made, that he released recently, I think was actually really well done in terms of going through all the evidence and showing why he's innocent. But I think at the large part right here, there's lessons to be learned from everyone. I think professional athletes need to learn from this example of, when you have a godlike amount of money, people are going to come after it. And you people can say whatever they want nowadays and ruin your career. So you really need to watch yourself and be smart. The smart ones stay in the shadows, obviously.
Yes.
I think
the rest of them go for Taylor Swift.
Right. I think the other thing too is that we're the gotcha side of society, or the ruining of people's reputations. We got to stop with the professional outrage. Again, it's very easy to look at someone and say, of course they did that. We have courts for a reason. If we're willing to sacrifice our court system, which is not perfect in any way, but if we're willing to sacrifice that, we're going to be a lot more trouble than we are now, right? The law is very important. It is what guides us. The ability to change the law is one of the founding principles of this country that needs to keep happening. Mistakes are made so we can learn and grow from them. But the reliance of the court of public opinion is very dangerous to me.
Yes.
I think we are voting elected officials on that, which is not a new thing per se, but it's a lot more prevalent now and intense now than it's been in the past. I hate to say this, I miss when politics was boring, and I miss when legislation and law was boring, because things tended to be better in terms of the decisions being made, and there wasn't all this public outrage, right? And again, we're living in a time where everyone can express their opinion in a public forum. That's what's different. I think too many people are willing to jump onto somebody else's thoughts because they support them, or they like them, or they have an agenda that they want to be true. And the truth is that if it was you, you would want the truth to come out. So give Bauer credit for doing this the right way for his own reputation. Again, he has so much money. He'll be fine.
Sure.
I don't feel too bad for the guy.
No, for sure. But I think, there's a big difference between having to pitch in Japan and having to pitch and being able to pitch for like the Dodgers.
Totally agree with that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was an interesting story that came out. And again, Bauer using social media to state his case. That's another aspect of sports that's changing things. Athletes can express themselves too. So I'm glad that's to bed though, and that it's done.
Yes, I agree. And I think the thing is that also is baseball. I think baseball needs to be better. We talk about baseball being better as a whole, and it has been. I think in this case, they have now Julio Arias, who was found guilty as a domestic abuser, was suspended for a year and then came back. Well, now he's been convicted again as a domestic abuser, and now he's being banned for probably going to be banned for life. And the thing is honestly, if you're found guilty of this stuff, banned for life. First offense, domestic, sexual, any of these abuse cases.
Just set a standard.
You're done. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, set a standard.
You're found guilty. You should not be allowed to play professional baseball. That is a privilege that people would kill
again,
for.
To be fair, I don't know of any profession that would let you come back.
Exactly. And that's why it's ridiculous to me that there are folks like Aroldis Chapman still in baseball, and again, Julio Arias, who now he's been removed, but it's happened over the years. Roberto Osuna. There have been many cases over the last several years of these individuals. One and done. You get convicted of domestic abuse or sexual abuse or whatever this is, you get found guilty, you're gone. Bottom line. No more 1 year suspension. No more suspension. No. Done.
What are you saying to women with that? You're only worth 1 year. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Domingo Germán, perfect example for the Yankees. Boy, and look, I hope for him and his family and his children, I hope he gets his problem solved. But I never want to see him on a baseball field ever again. It's that simple. I hope for him, again, I hope for his family. I hope for his kids. I hope for him as a person that he gets his life figured out. Never again are you allowed in a baseball stadium as a player. That's it. You're done. I'm sorry. I feel like this should be a zero tolerance thing. I don't know. I call me crazy.
No, I don't think anybody would disagree. We'll make sure we ask that in the comments this week. Do you think domestic abuse should be allowed back in professional sports? I think it's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, look, I mean,
Our priorities are messed up, Ray. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. So anyway, so that's our baseball segment for the week.
Baseball.
Baseball. So I had to end on a dour note there. But something else that's interesting. We talked about trades, we're talking about drafts, we're talking about free agents, all this other stuff earlier in the show. Interesting things happening in the world of wrestling. WWE has signed Jade Cargill, the former TBS champion at AEW. She had won, I think it was 53 or 54 straight matches to start her career. And then they let her go. She dropped the belt and they let her go. And then AEW signed Adam Copeland, aka Edge, the rated R superstar. He just made his debut at the new Wrestle Dream pay-per-view this past Sunday against his old tag team partner in WWE, Christian. Interesting moves are going on here, Lee, and it's starting to feel like in the community that AEW is either a developmental / retirement home for a lot of folks, and that WWE is still where you want to be if you're in your prime. What do you think of these moves in wrestling, that you have this amazing, which by the way, also AEW to me is really screwing up their women's division. They really need to not let people like Jade Cargill go. This is a huge win for WWE. But what do you think overall? Because there seems to be this trend where the prime talents of AEW are going to WWE in their prime, and then either people are looking to cut their teeth in AEW, or the old folks at WWE are looking for one more glory run or one more paycheck over at AEW.
Well, I have a hot take on this, Ray, that I think you might enjoy. All right. And I think people need to start following the money here. NXT was not doing it. And people needed a rival. They needed WCW versus WWF again. Mm-hmm. And it's been very suspicious to me. I haven't seen much infighting between the two organizations. They seem to coexist very peacefully, which makes me think that they both want this, right? So my hot take is that not only are they significantly aware of each other, but they're actually helping each other. I'm not saying that WWE is sending people like Edge to AEW, but I am saying that they both know they need each other to exist. And whether it's a retiring home or training place or whatever, it's exactly what the WWE needs right now to have a conversation of what are you watching tonight? The peak of the WWF, the peak was when WCW and the Monday Night Wars was going on.
Yeah.
Some genius, probably Triple H, I believe, engineered this and allowed it to happen. The WWE did nothing to stop AEW from coming to power. They're doing nothing to stop superstars from going back and forth. So I think that in a way, these two groups are in cahoots. I really would not be shocked if Triple H and Y2J are having conversations about what are you doing this week, right? I would fully expect that to be happening. And it's better for wrestling, right? Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because again, I'm not seeing anything, and the WWE is absolutely right to kind of quote unquote ignore them right now, right? Let them get big, let them come to power. It's probably not hurting their ratings. And again, follow the money. AEW is not making anywhere near, not even close, what WWE is making. That is what my gut tells me. That's what I believe. Right.
No, but they are still making good money.
I'm not saying they're not making anything. I'm saying that I think if you compare the two, it's not close.
I don't think that they're in cahoots, quite to your point, but I definitely think that both organizations look at the other like, and I think that wrestling as a whole looks at this like, and by the way, I should also mention that Impact, formerly TNA, is also as a third alternative doing very, very well. And to me is actually putting out the best writing of any wrestling show right now, in my opinion, and definitely has the best women's division.
Right.
Like the Knockouts division in Impact trumps what the WWE women are doing and the AEW women are doing. And that's partially because Tony Khan doesn't know how to book. Tony Khan doesn't know how to book big men. He doesn't know how to book women. And that is obviously clear that he's the guy with the pencil in the back, and he does great with all these high flyers and submission specialists and the guys that he loved growing up. He needs somebody to help him, because poor guys like Wardlow and Hobbs and Brian Cage and the whole women's division, they are being left in the dust. And I'm sure they're being paid well and compensated for their services. But boy, it feels like that talent is not being used to its full potential over there. But again, that's just as an outsider looking in.
No, I'll say this too, just taking a step back. The thing with the Monday Night Wars, and this is where my thought process keeps going, is that, you were fighting for airtime at that time. Like you had to choose. It's not the way the world works anymore. You can watch all of this all the time. You can get it on replay. You can watch it live. It's not like you're combating each other, right? Everything's available. So I think that that's also part of the mentality of like, there's enough for everybody. Watch what you want, right? You're always going to come back to us if you're the WWE. That's probably where their mindset's at. Right? It doesn't take much for you to have to go back to the WWE. I mean, look, Dwayne Johnson came back for a night. Look what that did.
I had taken a break from WWE, and as soon as they said that The Rock was showing up, as soon as I found out The Rock was on SmackDown, I'm back. I'm back, baby. Like it just, they got me. They got me. I'm a mark. They got me.
Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, like I said, like we talked about this about it's the old girlfriend kind of mentality, the old boyfriend mentality. You tend to go back, right? If someone that you cared about or you invested in is there. So, yeah, I've eagerly been watching the business side of these organizations, and I think that they are absolutely thriving on each other. I also want to
business is good at every company.
Well, and again, professional wrestling needed this. It was getting very stagnant.
100%.
So again, the more 100%. People that are talking, the more people that are doing this, the better it is for wrestling. And I want to give a quick shout out. If you're new to wrestling, there's a podcast for you called the New to Wrestling Podcast that our friend Xavier runs. You should check that out. He's going through the entire Attitude Era right now with his co-host and experiencing it for the first time and the second time, depending on how you look at the show. Check that out.
Yes. And speaking of, this is a great time to mention something new is we have sponsors now.
Partners. Sponsors.
Yes.
Partners. People that are partnering with us in a sponsorship capacity for the greater good.
Yes. And the first one, I have it right here, and I have to mention, is our friends over at Cutscene. So Cutscene is great because if you're like me, now on the weekends, it's not so much because I'll just play games till 5 a.m. and then I'll just go to bed. But during the week, it's hard for me to come down and turn the Xbox off at 12 or 12:30 and then go right to bed.
This is every gamer that ever existed.
Yes.
In history.
So, and I will also say this, now the instructions recommend 1 to 2 scoops, and yours truly made the mistake of going straight to 2 scoops with his first time trying it. Start with 1 and see what you need. I will say that much. But honestly, within an hour, it says it takes about an hour. And I would say every time consistently within an hour, I get super sleepy and I can go to bed and I wake up feeling pretty refreshed, pretty ready to go. Because I'm not staring at the ceiling till 3 a.m., which is what usually would happen when I stop playing games at 12:30. Because I just keep thinking, it's like, well, okay, tomorrow when I start playing again, if I do this, this, and this, all right, if I go around this way and I flank them, then I'll have a better chance to possibly take out their weak point. And the gears don't stop turning. Cutscene helps the gears stop turning. So honestly, they are great. And I think we just found we have a code that if you go to cutscenesleep.com and make a purchase and use code GWLS, right? That's Geeks Who Like Sports, GWLS.
You get a nice little discount. You do. You get a nice little discount. And again, it's funny, right? My story with this, and just so everyone knows, we have both tried this. We did a lot of vetting and research, checked with some doctors about this just to make sure this was what it said it was, because we're not going to bring anything to you that we don't believe in. My story is a little opposite, Ray, in the sense that when I go to play hockey late at night, usually pretty high up on a Red Bull, and when you get home, you're wired for 2 to 3 hours. But what's interesting about it for me is that I took this, and what it really does for you is it puts you just in a very restful mindset and a restful place so you can really just fall asleep. It's nothing like a NyQuil. This is what was my big thing with it. I was worried I'd be groggy. It just gives you a really good night's sleep. It put me in a little bit of a deeper sleep than I'm used to, but I waked up feeling really refreshed. And I'm telling you, when I have a men's league game at 10:45 at night and I took a Red Bull at 9:30 and I got to get up early the next day, I really love this stuff because it allows me to get to sleep a lot faster. So I'm going to say it again. We both tried it. We both used it. We've talked to their owners and their founders. Great people. We might even have them on at some point just to introduce them to you. But yeah, they're supporting us and we're supporting them, and you can support both of us by heading over to cutscenesleep.com and checking out Cutscene. So again, if you're looking for that
GWLS,
GWLS, you'll get a nice little discount over there. You're helping us, you're helping them. I promise you, this stuff was a game changer, pun intended and not intended at the same time. For me. So check out Cutscene, please.
And it's got a nice flavor. You just put it in a little bit. You put it in a cup of water. You drink it real casually. And again, I actually would drink it while still gaming.
They recommend that. They actually recommend that you drink it while you're playing. They said your last game of the night.
Yeah.
But again, it puts you in
works.
just a very nice kind of resting, like you just feel tired. It's really good. It's all natural too. So again, cutscenesleep.com, check it out. Use the code GWLS. Support all of us and support your sleep habits at night with Cutscene. That was cool. I've never done something like that before.
That was great. Yeah,
that felt right. It felt right.
You're natural.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Awesome. So another thing is you're talking about support and supporting us, and also you've got some jerseys behind you, Lee, that are supported right now, and I'm looking forward to possibly starting to hang some jerseys behind me. And another group that's helping us is called the Sports Displays, right? The sportsdisplays.com. They have these amazing, easy to install bars that you can hang your favorite sports jersey on. And it's super easy. It's super clean.
It looks great.
It looks really good. I can't wait. I keep waiting for Naiden to send me some so I can finally hang some of my autographed jerseys here behind me.
Yeah, we need to work on that background for those of you watching. We can get a bunch of those jerseys up. And they can change every week in your house. You have a closet full of jerseys.
That's true. Yeah, I got all kinds of stuff. And not always just sports jerseys. I got geek jerseys too.
I know.
Right? Like Kevin Smith. Not quite like Kevin Smith. I'm not as big as Kevin Smith. Or get big as Kevin Smith was, I should say. Physically. He's still, in terms of following Kevin Smith, way bigger than me. But in terms of size, I'm probably bigger than him now, actually.
Yeah, he's string bean at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, he needed to. He had that heart attack.
He had a widow-making heart attack and he survived.
We are thankful, of course, that he is still here every day, and good for him, and hope he's making lots of movies. Anyway, neither here nor there. The sportdisplays.com.
Check it out.
Sport, THESPORT, displays, DISPLAYS.com. You can go check them out. There, you get a bundle of them too if you want to hang multiples.
That's what I did. That's what I did, Ram. Again, you can't see it for those of you listening or watching, but I'm looking around my studio right now. I have 3 of them right in front of me. And what I love about these, Ray, again, is in value to the audience. I don't know if you know how much a actual jersey display costs, but they're upwards of $250 to $300. Right. And that's like glass enclosed. You got a mountain on the wall. I mean, and don't get me wrong, if you have like a Babe Ruth signed jersey, probably want to get one of those. Totally get it. All right. But if you've got just jerseys hanging around the house, these are extremely affordable. I got myself the 6-pack, believe it or not. All right. Which did not break the bank. And what's cool is that very easy to put on. I actually put them on using Velcro, and they're holding my jerseys no problem. You can use screws if you want, but it's literally a 5-minute process and your jersey's up. So for all of you listening, I know you have jerseys. I know you do. We know who you are. I mean, that sounded creepy, but we do know who you are. This is something that you need.
Yeah, you can get a single one for $40, or you can goes up as much as a 10-pack for $225. Where obviously that's $22.50,
which is less than one case normally. Yeah. I got to say that again.
Right. So, and they got a 3-pack and a 6-pack. So whatever works best for you guys. But definitely, again, thesportdisplays.com. So go check them out.
Again,
and thank you.
Yep.
And thank you for being a part of Geeks Who Like Sports. And thank you for listening. And we really appreciate it. That brings us now into the geek segment of the show.
Oh, thank God.
It was a long sports segment.
That was a lot. It was a lot of sports.
We knew we were going to do a deep dive on football. We went deeper than I thought. And then obviously we had a lot of stuff with baseball.
You love it. You love this show. I knew it.
Yeah, we all love it. I love it. You love it. The people listening love it. We appreciate it.
If you're still here, we appreciate you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
We know you're still here.
Yes. Kicking things off, Ahsoka just wrapped. Lee?
It's about to wrap tonight.
We're
recording this on Tuesday, it wraps tonight. So I have not seen the final episode yet because it's not out.
Oh, I didn't see. I thought it already wrapped and that like Loki started tonight. See, I get
Loki starts tonight or this week. I think it starts later this week. But Ahsoka's final. It's a good time to talk about it because I'll be able to eat crow when this debuts tomorrow.
I have lost all sense of time, and my calendar is completely screwed up. And we're gonna get into part of the reason why later. But Lee, what do you think of Ahsoka so far? Because I'm not gonna lie, folks. I haven't watched a single episode yet because I've just been super, super, super busy.
It is by far my favorite Star Wars show that's coming on Disney Plus. Wow. By a mile. And that doesn't mean I didn't like the other ones, but it is by far the greatest Star Wars show. Now, again, if you're a Clone Wars fan and a Rebels fan, you're 100% going to love this because it's live action Clone Wars and Rebels. But if you're not, they have intertwined once again, the prequels with the original 4, 5, and 6 in such a beautiful way that they have enhanced those movies once again. Dave Filoni is a genius. Again, Ray, I'm hesitant. This is how much I liked it. And I'm sure some of it's been spoiled for you already. I don't want to spoil this one for you. It's that good.
Yeah.
It's that good. And then they are playing every aspect of it perfectly. And I'm thoroughly looking forward to seeing tonight's episode. I have been nothing but satisfied where Marvel has completely dropped the ball on their shows. Completely. Hopefully Loki, rectifies that. Yeah. This show is, I believe, the best Star Wars show that they've made. Keeping in mind that I love The Mandalorian, that I really liked Obi-Wan, I've said this before that, I had a problem with Andor in the beginning, but ended up being okay for me. Right. This is by far my favorite show that they've done. And they're expanding the universe, hint, to Star Wars, to a place that is extremely comfortable for new fans, old fans, and especially, Ray, I'm talking to you, fans of the expanded universe that was taken away many years ago. So they are doing things right now that are going to allow them to do Star Wars better than ever before. And I am in love with this show.
That's very, very high praise, and I will binge it at some point.
Yeah, you should tonight. No, listen, I'm excited to discuss it with you. Actually, to be fair to our listeners, it's a perfect time when we're recording this again on a Tuesday before the premiere, because we probably could discuss this in the future of just the series as a whole, instead of going episode by episode. So I loving it. Rosario Dawson has been great. The whole cast has been phenomenal. The cameos are so fulfilling. They're not just there to be there. Right. But I will tell you this, Ray, when Luke Skywalker showed up in The Mandalorian, I've had that feeling, not to the same level, because that is a once in a lifetime level event, but I've had the same feeling multiple times in this show.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That is impressive. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Funny enough, they moved at the time of all their premieres. They were no longer a midnight premiere on the West Coast.
Thank God. That was horrible.
See,
it's because of spoilers. That's why, like, the whole East Coast can't watch.
Well, and that's the thing, horrible for you. But now that the new time is horrible for me, because it's right in the middle of usually when I'm doing my Twitch stream and all that other stuff. And by the time I'm done Twitch streaming, it's been spoiled for me.
Here's the deal. I would make this argument. And if those of you listening, let us know. I think it's a lot easier for you to get off your stream, not look at your phone, and go right to the TV and watch whatever it is you need to watch, than me waking up, grabbing my phone, and getting 16 updates of,
that's fair. That is fair.
All right. Like, I watched that episode. I didn't look at anything. And look, I hate admitting this, but I've stayed up to midnight before to watch these episodes, because it's that important to me that it's not spoiled. Right. So it's on me tonight. I've got a game tonight. I'm going to get home. I'm going to have to watch it before anybody tells me, because it's positioned to have some pretty big stuff happen tonight.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, no offense to the West Coast, but go screw yourself. All right. I need this.
That's fair. That's perfectly fair. It's also been, and we'll get into it, it's also been a ridiculously busy video game season. The first episode of Ahsoka dropped during the beginning of the mad rush for video game season. We'll get into that a little bit. But before we do, we mentioned Loki. Loki is debuting this week. Lee,
gotta
to me,
save it, man.
Save it. There's a lot hinging on Loki season 2, in my opinion, because Ant-Man 3 Quantumania really screwed up Kang, in my opinion, and really screwed up the whole Council of Kangs and all the other stuff. To me, this has to reestablish him as a big bad for this phase and really, like, position themselves going forward, because phase 4 stunk and phase 5 so far has not been any better. So they've got to me, Loki season 2 could be could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, depending on how this goes or doesn't go.
I am right there with you, Ray. I'll tell you this, that Loki season 1 is really what set us on the path for the last few years with introducing Kang. And I remember you and I both thought
the multiverse, the branching paths.
Yeah, we both thought, oh wow, they're going to really bank in on this. It's going to be great. Everybody's going to get a Kang. And now they've waited too long. They haven't connected anything.
They blew it.
They did. And I'll tell you what, before Loki, it was very much the end or the epilogue still of phase 3. And so I don't have high hopes for this. I am 100% going to watch it because I think the actors are terrific. But I'm going to say what you just said. If we come out of this and there is not significant movement on the MCU story front, I believe I am going to stop going to the theater to see some of these movies. I'm going to wait for them to come out. I have seen every MCU movie in the theater. All right. And they have earned those dollars. And because phases 1 through 3 were so good, I was willing to keep investing in that. But if they miss the mark on this, and I really hope you and I are back here in 6 weeks, like, wow, that was amazing. Right. I don't think I'm going to go for the Marvels. I think I'm just going to kind of wait till I feel like it's on track again, because, I'm just very disappointed with the MCU right now. Now, I will say this, with the changes at Disney, I think they figured out less is more. It's not about making 400 storylines and hoping for the best. It's about making 3 great storylines. So
I think Bob Iger is a big part of that. I think Bob
Iger will fix this. I really believe that. All right.
Yeah.
But this is Hollywood just being the bloated, horrible thing that they are, and trying to make as much money as they can. And they're sacrificing story and CGI, for that matter, to get as much out as possible. And you know what? It's not being shown in the stock prices. It's not being shown in Disney Plus subscriptions. I think they underestimated. People will wait for quality. They will. All right. But they're going to give up if you guys can't deliver that. And it's got to change.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Last chance, Marvel, MCU. You're losing. You're bleeding us. You're bleeding us.
Everything Disney sells dies. So get it right.
Oh gosh. So moving on, one of the other reasons why it's been hard for me to sit down and watch a lot of TV is we are in the midst of one of the busiest, if not the busiest, video game season I think
it's all the backlog from the pandemic.
I was gonna say it's both games that were planned to release now, and then games that were being made during the pandemic that finally got finished and are now being released.
But not Wolverine. That's still not out.
No, well, to be fair, that was announced a little early. That was I think all along that was gonna be a 2024 release.
Yeah.
But between like the release of Madden, which is usually where I mark things off, and basically Black Friday, it's like 36 AAA games. We're talking Spider-Man 2. We're talking Sonic Superstars, a new Forza, a new Assassin's Creed, a Hellboy game. We got new Mortal Kombat. We got
You didn't say that right.
Mortal Kombat.
Thank you. Yeah, you got to say it right.
Yeah. We got that Alan Wake 2, a sequel we've been waiting a decade for, is coming out end of October.
Wow.
A new Ghostbusters VR game is coming out. I mean, not to mention indie darlings like Cocoon and Jusant and El Paso Elsewhere, Lies of P, which is the Pinocchio Souls-like game, Blasphemous 2, Sea of Stars, which is the highly rated, highly touted RPG, turn-based RPG from the guys who made The Messenger. I mean, the NHL, they remastered the Gargoyles game from Super Nintendo. There's too many video games.
Right. You don't sound excited in any way.
I never thought I would say that.
People aren't going to listen to the show if you're not excited about things.
Super Mario Wonder. We got a new Super Mario game coming out in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Lee, I don't have enough hours in the day. Never mind the money in my wallet. I don't have the hours in the day.
If you believe it, you can do it.
Not if I keep taking cutscene. I need to sleep at some point.
No. You need to take cutscene efficiently so you get your 8 hours so you can game well. No,
I know. I don't need I don't need a job or to eat or anything.
You can eat while you're playing. Come on, man. I've seen you take pizza, and I can't take pizza anymore. I'm lactose intolerant. I have to eat pizza through you. Yeah, it sounded weird, but true. Listen, it's actually nice to see the gaming industry get kind of back right to where it should be. I love that there's too many titles for you to play, right? Because that's good. That means you're going to be in a good place and you're going to have to pick and choose. It also means finally that you're going to have to do some real reviews and let people really know what to buy and what not to buy, which is by far one of your greatest assets, greatest values. Again, for those who don't remember, Ray was the reviews editor and previews editor at EGM Magazine. Now he's with us at Geeks Who Like Sports. So obviously make sure you stick in here because Ray's going to give some of those reviews and tell you what not to buy. More importantly, what to get.
Yeah, what to spend your time and money on. I'll tell you this right now. Don't get El Paso Elsewhere. El Paso Elsewhere, the graphics look like PlayStation 1 era. And they desperately are trying. The story is that the writing is actually very good. It's such a shame. The writing for the game is actually very good.
Maybe that's what they were banking on. You don't have to have most amazing graphics anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it is a little hard to look at, and it is a little hard to it feels like they were like, what if we made the original Max Payne with vampires?
That's it. I understand.
But with the same graphics from PlayStation 1.
You know what's funny about this, Ray, is I wish we could take some of our younger listeners back to the mid-90s when we had PlayStation 1 and where we're like, did you see how good the graphics are on this game?
Yeah. No, that's the thing.
Real.
That's the thing. 15-year-old me would absolutely love this game, probably.
Yeah. For those of you out there, go Google Lara Croft 1996.
Yeah.
And you'll see.
You'll know what you're talking about. You'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so El Paso elsewhere, I'm going to tell you right now, probably a pass.
Yeah.
Cocoon, which is one of the games I mentioned on that list. 5 hours took me to 100% it. It's free on Game Pass.
There you go.
If you like Limbo or Inside, it's made by some of the same designers who made those games. It is one of the best puzzle games I've ever played.
There you go. Wow.
So it is going to it will definitely finish within my top 10 this year total, maybe even top 5. One of the best puzzle games I've ever played. 100%. So, and it only take you 5 hours. And again, with so much time,
sounds like it's built for me.
With time being at a premium right now with this review season, pass on El Paso elsewhere, pass on El Paso, and go get Cocoon.
This would be a good time real quick. For those of you that are new listeners to the show, just to give you an idea, and we have this written all over our stuff, but Ray, as I said, is a professional gamer, professional in games. Ray, how many titles have you beaten so far this year? And it is early October right now.
55.
55 games. And just to give some context to that, I have beaten 2. But I beat 3 games just this weekend. Well, and there you go. And I beat Star Wars and Ninja Turtles this year. Now, going back to that same time adversely, if you're a sports fan, that's where I have how many games have you coached this year? I lost count a while ago. But the point is that we complement each other very, very well. When Ray says to me, Lee, you should get this game, I don't hesitate. I do it because Ray knows.
Oh, for sure. No, honestly, Lee, if you have Game Pass and you want to play something with Logan and
I do.
Alina,
I think Game Pass is one of the best things that's ever happened.
It is, honestly. Game Pass right now, folks, I'm going to say this, and this, if Xbox wants to sponsor us,
Microsoft,
but seriously, Game Pass is, they definitely do after that acquisition, Activision acquisition. Game Pass is such a great value right now. So many of these great games that I mentioned are coming right to Game Pass. It's a chance for you to try them out. There's a game today called the Lamplighters League that I want to try and that normally I'd be on the fence about. You don't have to be on the fence about it. It's part of Game Pass.
Yeah.
Cocoon, again, this is a great puzzle game. Again, it's really it's for everyone. It's for the whole family. There's nothing in there that's going to be crazy. It's a puzzle. It's primarily a puzzle game. And the way they do it, it's
I'm writing that down. Cocoon.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to get Stray too. I'm looking forward to playing Stray.
Stray is another great one that you can do with the whole family for sure. That's probably about a 6 to 8 hour experience.
Yeah,
it originally debuted on PlayStation, but now is on Xbox and on Game Pass. Because that's happening a lot too, where games will come to PlayStation first and then join Game Pass like a year later.
It all ends up with Microsoft. Yeah, and here's another hot take: God of War, Spider-Man, Wolverine. It's inevitable.
I am inevitable. So, but yeah, I very much, if you like puzzle games, I check out Cocoon. If you like podcasts, be sure to subscribe to Geeks Who Like Sports. Follow us on all the socials. Obviously, it was a 5-star review if you can. Wherever you're listening to us, it helps us big time. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. This is the beginning of season 2, and this is the end of episode 1 of season 2. Lee, you have any closing thoughts?
If you like the show, email us at team@geekswholikesports.com. Your 5-star reviews are heavily appreciated, along with topic ideas. So head over to our Facebook page, Geeks Who Like Sports, and let us know what you want us to talk about next week's episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. Back to you, Ray.
Producer Caitlin also wants to let you know that is not the email. You can email us at geekswholikesports@gmail.com.
What?
That one works.
That one works. Okay. Well, I'm going to make team at geekswholiksports.com.
You should make that email.
I'm going to make it.
You should make that email.
I challenge you listening to email us there to see if it works. Miyagi effect.
But at least for a week, maybe still stick to geekswholiksports@gmail.com. So, but anyway, until next week, thank you everybody for tuning in. We are officially back. For Lee, I'm Ray. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week with more Geeks Who Like Sports.